Mhm.
Right, I make it 1:30, so shall I start?
Yeah.
Everybody happy?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, as best you can be. Well, good evening and welcome to a meeting of the Environment and Recreation Committee. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies. I don't know if we've got any apologies.
There's no apologies. We just haven't got Chris with us, Chris O'Rourke, but he did have trouble for planning and development, didn't he? So he may well still be trying to join.
Somebody's locked the door and won't let him in.
Can I just, sorry, if he's trying to join from the link on Town Council website, that's how I was trying to do it and it wouldn't let me at all. So I had to come out of all of that. It just says it's for planning and development. But even though I'm pressing environment and rec, it just wouldn't let me join. So I had to come out of it and do it via the meeting ID, just so you know, Sandra, in case he is.
Okay, maybe we've got the link wrong on the website then.
She's saying something, but she's muted. So
I use the link on the agenda and all the extra papers. I use the link on there and
Come straight in.
anyway, right. Well, let's continue. Declarations of interest declared. Received declarations, disclosable pecuniary interests and other interests, and the natures of those interests relating to items on the agenda. Are there any?
No.
Stunning silence. Okay. Item 3 is to approve and sign as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held 12th of January 2021. I'm just making sure I've got the right set off. Are you all happy for me to sign?
Yes, move they be signed.
Yeah, seconded.
Okay, I'll append the signature and I'll put it through the town hall door sometime this week for you.
Thank you.
Okay, what is the date? I've forgotten the date already.
16.
Oh, the 16th. So it's been one of those days. So okay, so that's been done. And item 4 is a public forum to allow any member of the public to address the meeting upon individual items listed on the agenda for a period of not longer than 3 minutes. Do we have anybody who wishes to address the meeting? There's a shaking of head down at the single member of the public we've got watching. Right, in that case, we'll move on. And item 5 is non-permitted items to grave plots at the cemetery to receive a report regarding the progress of the removal of items. Copy herewith pages 3 to 7. We'll find those and see what they say. Okay, you've got them in front of you. Hopefully you've read them, possibly in slightly more detail than I have, but I'm not sure who did this. Alicia, do you want to speak on it?
Yes, I did write the report and I just wanted to update towards the end of the first page where it says report to date. I've outlined that there are some 20 outstanding items and then I've sort of split those down as to what's required. So I just wanted to say that since the report was written, we have now written to 9 more owners who had non-permitted items on the plots to follow up. So where it says that follow-up letters are overdue, a lot of those have now been addressed since the report was written.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we just, if nobody else wants to say anything, Tina.
Sorry, can I just ask Alicia, the people who had things on their graves, are they recent burials or have they been there for some time? I'm just thinking that I suppose in the moment when you're burying somebody, you perhaps don't read all the rules that you just sign it. So are these things that they've been reminded about in the past, or is it just that they're new and don't know?
It's actually a mix of older plots and newer plots, but I would say that the majority are newer plots because they tend to be towards the back end of the cemetery where the newer plots are.
Okay.
And so since 2016, we have been advising anybody who buys a plot what the rules and regulations are with regard to permitted items on graves.
Yeah.
So there are definitely a number of people who have signed the regulations but not then followed them. But it is a mix, so I couldn't say that was the case across all of them. So some of them are older. Okay.
Can I just, Councillor Redding, if it's okay, can I just say that, is there any way that rather than send them all letters, can we have sort of a bigger display of the rules for the cemetery, sort of at the entrances?
You have got them.
Yeah, but they're not very dominant in there, are they?
Well, we have the list on the notice board.
Yeah.
So are you suggesting that we have another sign that's
no, just maybe,
or just laminated notices
just
around the cemetery for a while?
Printed bigger, maybe, just so that, you know, people can just walk past that notice board because it's got quite a lot of things in it. Mm. So if it was just printed bigger, so it was just a little bit more obvious.
Councillor Jackson, you want to?
Going back several years, this has been going on for several years, and there are one or two of the grave, obviously they've either got a relative or whatever in, and they've absolutely refused to remove things. So, you know, it's not a question of ignorance. I'm afraid one or two of them, such as the solar lights, they just purely refused to remove them. They said they're there and I intend to keep them there. So, you know, it's one of these things. You've got to have rules. Whatever the rules are, people should adhere to them. But unfortunately, there's always one or two people that feel that they're above the rules.
I would say, although Tina's probably got a good point there, the thing is that there is a copy on the notice board in the cemetery. They're also given a copy, I believe, when they sign for to purchase the grave or get permission to inter another body there. So if they can't be bothered to, if they can't read what they've been given to their hands, I know they might be grieving and so on, but they will still have that somewhere. I'm not sure that putting a larger notice is actually going to help.
That's fine. Okay.
Do we have to agree receipt of this report? I can never remember the procedure on these. Yeah,
the report was to receive a note.
Yeah, so I propose we receive a note. So, I don't know if I got a seconded. Are you all in favour? Yeah. Pam, you
yeah, I'm sorry, I lost contact again. Yeah. No, I'm in favour. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Can I make one note while we're on the graves? Unfortunately, the last 2 or 3 graves, once again, we seem to have lost the putting topsoil on. We've now just got large heaps of the iron ore stone. They seem to be getting higher. We seem to, whoever it was that had been trained before, they've now gone back to having just heaps of iron ore on top. I know it's not really on this actually item, but while we're talking about it.
Yeah, I would just comment to say that has been raised with the ground maintenance contractors, and we are looking to have a meeting on site to discuss the backfilling of the graves.
Because unfortunately, all the topsoil that we did have in a little tiny side heap, when they tidied it up, they've nicely put all that soil on top of the iron ore to make it look tidy. But of course, we've now lost our store of topsoil.
Yeah, I think Sandra was aware of that and was going to raise that with the contractors as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Item 5.2 is to review the procedure for removal of non-permitted items, and we've got a procedure, proposed addition to the procedure, which hopefully you've all had a look at. I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions over it or make a comment on it, or whether Alicia or Sandra wish to add anything, but I'm deafened by the silence, so I think we'll. I propose that we accept the proposed addition to the procedure, to the addition to the procedures for removal non-permitted items. Pam, you
I'd like to second that because I think it's very fair.
Okay, all in favour? Okay, looks like that's been carried. Thank you very much. Item number 6 is B close boundary hedge and access to the open space to the rear. To agree to grant a license to the resident of number 25B close, which includes removal of the hedge and installation of a fence. Copy we're in on pages 8 to 9 of the supporting documents. I'm just going to find. Oh. Right. As you can see, that the purpose is to grant a license to the residents, allow them to remove the hedge and install a fence. Myself, well, I was actually late, but I did have a discussion. I was late due to the fact I had a tooth out that morning, so I wasn't exactly very on the ball. But the town clerk and I forgotten who it was now. Oh, Barry Prigmore. Were on site and met the residents of the two properties at B Close. It became very obvious, actually, to us that, contrary to everybody thinking it was some sort of path, it was obviously a mistake by the builders and the developers and not actually fencing in the first place, because it was about a foot wide. If you didn't want to actually walk on anybody's property, like the drives, there was only 1 foot wide section that you could walk on. So at the moment you look at it very closely like that, you realise there was never any intention of there being access to the greenway there. So we were all in agreement that we shouldn't, that we should allow it to be closed off. And we've got this licence proposed. Will this have to be redone every year, Sandra, or just paid every year?
Just paid every year, because
Right.
it sort of reminds it that it's in existence. Really, it's paid every year, but the license stays the same. It's only when somebody moves house that we do a new license with the new owner of the property.
It doesn't have to be added to the property register.
No, it's
Okay.
no.
All right. Well, the details are there. So unless anybody's got any questions or statements, Pam.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to say that this has gone rattling on and on and on. And I'm only too pleased that an agreement has been made between the residents and the council. And I'm more than happy if everybody's in full consent of this way forward. I propose that that's the way we go.
I'll second it.
Okay, Angela, did you want to say, or just
No, seconding it, thirding it.
If you're all in agreement, just show, please, a hand, clap a hand. Thank you very much. That's all agreed. And presumably, Sandra, you'll send the, or Alicia will. Sorry, I can't.
God, I keep thinking. It needs to go to full council for ratification, but obviously once it's been through full council, I'll then send it.
All right, so it's actually a
it's a recommendation.
yeah, okay.
I think in view of the controversy on this issue, I think it needs to be ratified by full council.
Yeah, all right then. Okay. Right. Item number 7 is upgrade a path to the tennis courts. So consider quotes for the upgrade of the path via the tennis courts, improved ramp access and renovation of the concrete area. Pages 10 and 11 on the additional. I think that's all fairly self-explanatory.
And if you want, I mean, I had a poach from the tennis club, and the path is in brilliant condition. So I do see that the path needs doing, and we hadn't realised the steps got there didn't work with the temporary ramp, although the temporary ramp has seemed to have gone missing. So we will have to get another one. And Councillor Jackson kindly went out and measured, and in his view, it just needs the step altering slightly. And it was his suggestion that we perhaps look at overlaying the concrete part with slabs as well, so that it looks a bit tidier around there, because the concrete is cracking in places.
Okay, Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, there's one question. In the quotes they were talking about for that, obviously, when we first had, I believe it was Stephen Pell that did the work, he laid it so the paving slabs were flush with the top of the concrete. Obviously, when they quoted, were they quoting for lifting some of those paving slabs so that it just formed one continuous line? Because the last thing we want to do is lay paving slabs on top of that concrete, and there's a 2 or 3 inch, or sorry, 75 mil step. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because obviously you've got a slab path going up to there, then there's a paved section going up to the gate of the actual tennis courts, and of course those slabs there would have to be just lifted a fraction if we do put slabs over the top of the concrete. Did they quote for that, or did they just?
Well, that's what they were asked to do, and I'm just double checking.
I'd just like it to be one continuous smooth patio, not with a step.
One of them, actually, I asked for putting slabs, and he's actually quoted to put tarmac over the slab, over the concrete pad, and obviously join it so it's all smooth to the concrete, to the slabs. And the other ones, form fit, I don't know. It says apply K140 emulsion, provide laying consolidated 30 AC6 dense. I mean, they were asked to do that. I'd have to query that, what they've actually said. One seems to have asked, quoted to put tarmac down. The other one seems to have quoted to put slabs, despite the fact they've asked to put slabs down.
It wouldn't look very good with tarmac against the slabs. But likewise, all I'm just trying to clarify is that it's going to be just one level line, and then the steps modified so that a ramp can be. We may have to have a slight modification as well for the ramp, depending on how high the steps are going to be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were asked to quote for putting slabs overlay and to make it so you didn't get a slab. That was step. That's what they were asked to quote.
That's all I wanted to query.
I was going to suggest that if we were all in agreement with what Councillor Jackson's suggested and has been mentioned on here, that can we leave it to Sandra to clarify that with the two contractors, because this is still going to have to go to full council, isn't it?
It is, and I did actually ask another company to quote, because we do need 3 quotes anyway. So, but I mean, obviously you've got 2, so it could put a budget on. And interestingly, the company that's cheaper but more expensive for the slab overlay is the one I believe has quoted the slab overlay, not the tarmac. So that's probably why that's more expensive than quote B for the slab overlay, because they were quoting for tarmac for some reason, even though I hadn't asked for tarmac.
Right.
I'd only just noticed that. Sorry.
So
obviously,
I mean, do we need a target budget for this then? I mean, just looking at it, we're probably looking at, I mean, if we went for the most expensive quote, I got you. We're close to about £10,000. I can't do the mental arithmetic at the moment. Not two ways anyway. So do
Either 10,000 or 12,000.
yeah, do we agree to a budget tonight to put so it can go to full council with the clarification?
Yes, I suggest you agree the full budget. By full council, I will have just double checked with the company that company A, which is cheaper on the first two.
Going on what Councillor Whiting just said, then we'd be looking at about £12,000 as a budget figure.
If you take
For the Duress one.
I was going to say, if you take all of the quote A prices, it comes to 8,452.
Yeah, that's what I got. So I mean, I would suggest if we allowed a budget of 9,000, so I can get some new temporary ramps. We've got that would be sufficient, and obviously we get a third quote and make sure we've got the cheapest.
Yeah,
and they were quoting for what we've done. And as I said, we have got funds available in reserves that we can use to fund this, but I think it is something we do need to do because we've obviously had the comment from the tennis club who's got a disabled player, and also it is quite slippy in place. I've nearly fallen over on one of the tree stumps that are there because they get slippy with the moss.
Yeah. Councillor Whiting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, can I just clarify? We've got the price for the path and the steps, which come to quote A is £8,452.08. But is the slab overlay got to be added on top of that? Which is why I said 10,000 or 12,000. Is the slab overlay an extra cost on top of the steps and the path?
Now I've got 8,450 because you've got quote out 6,414 plus 712 plus 1,324.
It is plus the 1,324.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So we're talking 10 or 12,000. Yeah.
No, so I've got to 8,450 if you added up quote.
If you add quote A, that comes to 8,000 something, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the path and the steps.
For the path, the steps, and the overlay.
Yeah, I've just added 8,452.
That's why I was querying whether they were actually proposing to lift the existing slabs up fractionally, just so it marries into the same line.
I will clarify. Yeah, I would suggest we allocate a budget of 9,000. I mean, if I find after speaking to the cheapest contractor there that isn't enough, obviously we can amend that when it goes for ratification.
Yeah, okay. So, sorry, Councillor Reevy, you want to?
I was just going to say, I was just going to make a proposal, Councillor Redden, so you go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Well, I was about to do exactly the same. So what I was going to propose was that, subject to clarification on the questions raised by Councillor Jackson and a target budget of £9,000, that we recommend to the council, full council, that this be agreed. Is that right?
Yes.
It's awfully complicated, that.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, and if you're all in favour, you just show a hand. Nobody against it. Thank you very much. Right, item 8 is use of Castle Fields for a circus. To agree the use of Castle Fields for a circus between 24th of May and 31st of May. Be pages 12 on the additionals.
And normally, I mean, this is something I would normally agree under my delegated powers, but I'm just slightly wary with it. We're still just coming out of lockdown. I know theatres are starting to open on the 17th of May. So on that basis, if they produced the right COVID risk assessments, and it sounds like they have thought about how they're going to manage it. It's down to the council whether they willing to do that at that time, bearing in mind it will attract people.
Okay, Councillor Jackson.
Well, obviously, when you read their report, they seem to be well in on what they propose to do to avoid any problems. Obviously, they will give this assurance, so therefore, if anything does go wrong, it's down to them, surely. So I would have thought it's in our best interest to try and get life back to normal, providing all precautions are taken for COVID. It would be nice that we can actually start getting back to normality, providing everything is done safely.
Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I only have a few concerns about this one, and that is that's the amount of people and the policing and the things that go around it. It just, I really want things to go back to normal, but because we've been in lockdown, out of lockdown, numbers high, numbers low, I don't want to be seen to be adding to anything. I'm very tentative on this one. I really am very, very tentative on this one. And I don't want to be a dampener, but I worry that we could have too many people that we could actually deal with.
Councillor Evie.
I think it's too early. I know that other things are opening up, but we will be a guinea pig for them because they won't have done many more before this. And I have great reservations about saying yes. If they were asking for September, when hopefully we would have been opening up even more, then yeah. But in May, I just think it's not quite right for me. I just think it's they won't have trialled very many before they come to us, so we're going to be the guinea pig. If it works in High and Ferrers, then they can go elsewhere, and if it doesn't, we're stuck with the problems.
Sandra, do you have anything to sort of add to this?
I mean, I think I share Councillor Gardner's reservations, and that is why I've brought it to the committee, because I would have been happier if it was after the 21st of June they were looking to do this. They have got a booking before us, because originally it was going to be that really the first week that they could do it, but they've obviously they came back and said, oh, we need to change it. So obviously they're going somewhere else first, but I do share reservations, and that's why I have brought it to the committee, as I say.
Councillor Jackson, you want to?
Why not ask if they've got a slightly later date then? That then overcomes the problem. If they're, say, another 3 or 4 weeks later on, would everybody be happy with that or not?
We'll
depending on if they've got available dates.
Yeah, Councillor Whiting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I share everybody's reservations on this. If they want to come the 24th of May, it's only the week after we're hopefully getting out of some sort of lockdown. If anything should change with that and everything's put back a bit, we're all going to be up the creek without a paddle. I'd be happier if it was later in the year. I know they usually come around this year and they have got obviously regular fixtures, but I do think this is a little bit too soon after a slight lockdown. We don't want to go straight back into another one.
Councillor Gardner.
Just another thing to put an extra damper on it. There are obviously people that'll be working inside the circus, and they are going from town to town to town. If they start to have to self-isolate, if they are going from one town, are they having a break in the middle? Are they going to COVID test every single one before they even think about moving on to the next town, and to make sure everyone is clear before they come to us? Say, for example, they come to us on the 24th, but they was somewhere on the 22nd, and someone had the undetected, and then they pass it on. We need to know it's all right being safe while you're actually watching the show, but as we know with things like this, there's the background and everything else. So that's my concerns. They're going in and out of towns. What's the turnover? Are they testing all their staff for COVID? and the timeframes that involves. It's just a little bit too much, too quick for me. Sorry.
I think, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's either this particular weekend or the one before that we would, at my car club, the MG club, would have a charity run, and we cancelled that back in January, very early January, and postponed it basically till the same time next year. And that was probably easier to organise, and we could have easily socially distanced, but we still wouldn't even consider having it, I don't think, now. And like I get the picture, that the feeling, apart from that Nigel hasn't said anything yet, but I get the feeling that we're all very reluctant to be, as I think Angela said, the guinea pigs. It's difficult because somebody's going to have to be the first town to have them. But I do think, like as everybody said, it is just too close to us beginning to open up. I think if it was even a month later,
yeah,
we could be more certain that I won't say it's safe, but it will be safer. Possibly, there'll probably be nothing wrong with it on this particular weekend, but it just seems too close to me. So, I mean, I would propose that we ask them to postpone it until later in the year, and even a month or 6 weeks would be sufficient. But I noticed Councillor Reeve had a hand up. So
I did. I just wanted to clarify with Sandra. Do we provide toilets there, Sandra?
No, they sell
We
them.
have a circus.
No, we just give them access to the water because they can put a standpipe on the water there. So I mean, obviously they come with their caravans. I don't know what they've got in their caravans.
Okay.
I mean, the other thing, Sandra, is this something that maybe it's getting a bit late? That's the problem. I was just wondering whether we pass it to the full council.
I think they really need to know.
Yeah.
I mean, and this was this earliest committee that I could bring it to, and it was actually fell under this committee anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Jackson.
Why not ask the question? What later dates do you have available? And then you can make the decision based on that information. If they say, sorry, we haven't got any other dates, well, you just say, sorry, on this occasion, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know what else is happening on the Castle Fields this year anyway. Shall we, just trying to think of what wording for this. Shall we say, if everybody's happy, shall we say that we're not willing to have it on this particular weekend? We would consider a later date, at least a month later. So after, I think it's June the 21st.
Yeah.
After June the 21st. And if they have any weekends, we would obviously consider those if they propose them.
Yeah.
And that's a proposal if anybody wants to second it.
I'll second that.
Hopefully, Alicia got most of that.
Because at this moment in time, June is when they're hoping to open everything up. So therefore, there shouldn't be a problem, should there?
No, we should know by then. As you say, it's all just too close. So it's been proposed.
I'll second.
Bert seconded it. If you're all in favour, you can just show a hand. Okay, that looks like that's unanimous. Okay. Are you all right with that then, Sandra?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine, thank you.
Okay. Item number 9, natural capital. To receive and note the report on the natural capital workshops and data maps. Pages 13 to 19. I did have a look through this and got lost. So
You're not the only one. The colours didn't seem to sort of tie in to me, but possibly I'm colourblind.
I noticed Alicia's attended one of these.
Yeah, would you like me just to say a few words?
If you'd like to, because I'm not sure I fully understand it.
I would like you to enlighten us, please, Alicia.
Yeah.
Essentially, we took part in, well, I took part in a workshop. So it's a trial that Natural Capital are doing. It was funded, and it's to produce a series of maps, basically environmental maps. And so they wanted, this is the first time they've produced these type of maps. So the maps that I put in as an example are maps that they have produced, but they sought feedback on. So we have provided feedback on them because in some instances, like you say, the colouring wasn't particularly clear, or it needed additional information on it to explain quite what the map was showing. But we thought it was a good trial to take part in because we've now ended up with 25 maps that will be helpful in terms of the habitat and biodiversity that we have in Higham, or that we could look to develop in Higham. Okay, so does that help a little bit more in the exercise?
I think so.
What they're looking to do is to set it up so that parish councils can start to buy these maps, because they think these maps are useful to parish and town councils, and that was part of the workshop, you know, feedback from us as to how we thought they could be used. So they want to set it up so that parish and town councils can purchase these maps to help them with the work that they're doing. So, for example, I did say on the last page some of the examples that you might use the maps for. So they could be helpful for us in reviewing the neighbourhood plan. They could help us if we want to produce an environmental or climate change action plan, because it can identify areas where we might want to improve habitat, do woodland planting. If we're looking at wildflower meadows, again, it will give us some direction on possible land areas that we could use. I accept that it's for the whole of the parish, and obviously as a town council we only have limited land holding that we own, but it would identify parcels of land where partnership working might also be possible with landowners. So it's more it was more just a sort of an exercise in helping with the development of these plans, and on the back of it we get them for free. Parish councils that didn't take part in the trial and the workshops will have to buy them in. So it's a new concept, but I could see the benefit of the plan, of having the plans. They are looking to produce a booklet that accompanies the range of plans, because I've only given you an example of 4 of them. I mean, you can look at all of them with the link that I sent, but they're looking at a booklet to help explain some of the maps, because I do accept that some of them are difficult to interpret, and even us as the attendees on the workshop didn't fully understand all of the information on the maps that we were looking at. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell, really. I mean, if there are specific questions, I'm happy to try and answer those, or if you want to sort of email through after the meeting. So I'm not expecting you to look at all 25 maps and completely understand them, because there is a guidance booklet to come out to help me with that as well. But it was to give you an idea of the workshops and what potentially we've got to sort of use in the future to help with, you know, producing perhaps a climate change action plan, or even if we got big planning applications, it might help us in terms of what we want developers to do in terms of habitat creation on housing estates, and looking at biodiversity plans and having a better understanding of them.
Are these what's the word, interactive or digital? I mean, are they printed out and that's it until they redo them? I mean, look, the one I've just looked at very quickly there was the air quality one. Now that's possibly just I doubt whether anybody's taken any figures there. It looks like it's just following around the town as a sort of indication. But I mean, once we start, or they start building Rushton East, for instance, there's going to be a change out there. Is this something that we'd be able to monitor and then have very quickly an up-to-date map on the using that data, whatever data we manage to put into it?
The maps that we've been provided with are as of the time that they were drawn up. The project and the workshops didn't actually have the answer to that. In fact, there are a lot of things that they didn't have the answer to, because one of the things I asked was how much it would cost if we weren't getting them for free as part of this, and they haven't even worked out how much it will cost. I mean, it might cost councils, somebody said, well, probably maybe £1,000, but we're not sure. So £1,000 for 25 biodiversity maps. So no, we can't update these, but we might be able to buy into some kind of maintenance in later years. They haven't provided them to us on an online basis because we already have a mapping system. So if we had the electronic data, we could sit those through with our own mapping system and like have overlay of different layers. Yeah. And again, that's been pointed out to them, but they weren't, as part of the trial, giving the maps in an electronic format to the parish councils that took part in the trial. It was simply PDF versions. So it's something that's been fed back to them by me, at least.
And I'm assuming, because it says to receive a note, that we don't, all we have to do is receive and note this, and it will be available to the full council to look at, and we don't have to make any decisions on this at all.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was just to allow you to be aware that we've now got these maps, and then also, you know, how we could potentially use them in the future if we wanted to, or if, as further work is done on them, we might look at trying to get them in an online version, or sorry, a digital version, or look at how the updates are dealt with. Okay.
I think everybody's looking a bit shell-shocked with that. So if I can, if nobody wants to make any comments, or I wouldn't ask Lisa any detailed questions because I don't think she wants to provide a lecture tonight. If anybody's got anything particular to say, please put your hand up. Otherwise, can I propose that we receive and note this this report?
I'll second that.
Seconded.
There's a rush then.
We don't want any exam at the end of it. That's all.
All in favour? I think everybody waved a hand then. Yeah. Okay then. Thanks very much.
I think we just felt it was an opportunity to get something for free, so we ought to take it.
Alicia, did you enjoy it? Did you find it enjoyable?
Yes, I did enjoy it. I mean, I thought actually the base map, I thought hopefully is fairly clear. So the first map that we provided, the base map, which basically identifies all of the different sort of habitats and the built up areas. So that's relatively easy to understand. And then from those base layers, they've worked out all of the other mapping. So, you know, they're showing you areas where, you know, there are issues with air pollution or, you know, water, things like this. And then how the other thing that it does is if it identifies an area where there's, say, a pollution problem, then at least we know where the problem is, and then you can look at measures as to how you would then go about dealing with it, whether we can do that as a town council or whether we look at developers to try and help us do that. So it's also identifying where there are perhaps sort of problem areas as well, and how you can go about improving habitat or changing habitat to try and make it a better environment for Higham. So but there are 25 maps that kind of include all sorts of things. So yeah.
Well done, Alicia. Do we all get acknowledging now?
I assume that none of these maps identified a possible cemetery site, so we'll move on, shall we? Okay, item 10 is the clerk's report, which is on pages 20 to 22, which is miles down because we've got 25 maps to get through now. Right, there we go. Wow, yes. Well, it's all there in front of you. I don't know whether Alicia or Sandra want to add anything to what's on the bits of paper or on your screen.
I just thought for the Nightingale Way play area, it would be useful to have an image, because I know that Tina, in your mayor's report, you tried to show a photo
Yeah, I did, yeah.
at the last full council meeting of what the 3 individual chairs would look like. So on the report, the photograph at the bottom is the start of one of the chairs, the carving for it. And so there'll be 3 of those individual chairs that will go at Nightingale Way play area. And it's the reverse of those chairs that they're looking to have designs that the children have made. Well,
Yeah.
designs that the children have put through the competition to go on the back of those chairs.
I'm supposed to be meeting with Caris next week, but I haven't heard anything. Bless you.
The closing date for the school competition is this Friday, so we'll contact the schools on Friday to arrange to collect the entries, and then they'll be looked at next week.
Next week, yeah. I've got a few meetings next week, so
Okay.
I think it's the 23rd and the 24th, so it'll have to be later.
I think Angela had her hand up. I saw, but
Yes, half of my question was already answered about the closing date of the competition. That was covered. And the other one is the owl in the photo. That's so big. That's currently in the juniors reception area, as I spend a lot of time there. And Grace cuddles it and kisses it every time we go in and out, and has tried in copious amounts of time to drag it out. Quite taken a liking to it. It's huge. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so well done. It's such a work of art. So yeah, they are really lovely. They really are.
Yeah. Well, the juniors have got the owl, the infants have got the squirrel, and the table and chairs have gone to Henry Chitchley.
They're lovely.
So,
Councillor Jackson.
If when you're going down to the Nightingale play area, I think myself that the trees that were planted, they need to have more substantial stays or stakes for them, because I think 1 or 2 have been pulled out.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll have a look at that.
Every time I go past
very
Saffron,
feeble.
yeah, every time I go past Saffron Wreck, I'm counting the trees are still.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the other thing. In obviously where the walnut tree, the 3 trees, one of them was badly trimmed right from a few years ago, and that's why it's so feeble. I have a feeling that those 3 trees along the Saffron Road, they need some protection around the actual tree root, because otherwise when they trim around them, we'll end up damaging the same.
I agree.
It needs some protection around the actual tree itself.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bert, because when they do that field, they do it so quickly on that tractor, and he just swings round.
Well, it's not the tractor, it's the strimmer, because they have to do strimming around those objects. And what I'm worried about is that if they get damaged the same as one of the walnut trees was, it's a shame, because they'll just die. Well, they don't die, but they just don't develop properly.
No, I'm surprised they didn't put a circle of
Correct.
something round it.
And something substantial.
Yeah, like a wrought iron thing. Like they used to in parks.
Yeah, I'll follow that up and look into it. I'm sure.
Thank you.
Well, I don't think we'll get a wrought iron tree guard, but at least if you have a substantial plastic protection on all of them, in fact, not just the Saffron Road ones, all 5.
No.
Sorry to. One other thing, I realised I should have declared an interest because of the in the cemetery. I do own the 2 plots. I forgot all about the declaring an interest on that. Sorry about that.
Right, before I propose that we receive the clerk's report, can I just ask a question? The tree planting, the Cloudy Group has planted a tree on our behalf.
Where is it?
Yeah, quite. Where is it? Is it in Higham Ferrers or is it elsewhere? Okay, that's.
It's not in Higham Ferrers. No.
It's in some other country, I believe, isn't it?
I think it is In the developing world, yes.
Yeah.
Where exactly in the developing world, I don't know. If you want me to
Oh,
work
right.
it out, I can.
Yeah, it's just I couldn't see anything on the certificate where we may or may not have planted a tree. I could see Africa and Asia, but that's very wide. It's either a very big tree or it's a choice of places. Right, if I can propose that we receive the clerk's report, please.
I'll second that.
Seconded. All in favour? Thank you very much. And item 11 is the parish paths warden report, which is page 23. It looks very comprehensive again, as Marion Darnell has exceeded her brief, I think, once again. I'm not even sure where some of these paths are. I know we have a map normally, but it used to be a case that the same map number path numbers used to come up, but she seems to be walking all of them as far as I can see. Yeah,
she does walk all of the public rights of way. So she does it before every meeting. So she walks the whole route.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, all of the public footpaths.
We should express our thanks yet again to her for doing the job. So unless anybody's got anything to add to that, can I propose that we receive her report? I think so.
I second it.
Everybody in favour? Yeah, thank you very much. And item 12 is items to report. Angela.
You're only laughing because I'm going to put my hand up.
Yes, I knew you were.
I'd like the Environment and Rec to look at the Riverside Park at the bottom of Wharf Road. I've had 3 or 4 occasions to go down there on 2 separate things. One was, we know that our other councillor, Barry Spencer, he has a lot to do, and that's his angling hat on. I've been down there with our PCSO, and that is to investigate and have a look at teenagers and unfortunately drug deals that are happening in there. It's happening so frequently at the moment that the local taxi firm actually called us over to say he has regular bookings on a Friday and Saturday night, and he takes them down and then he's asked to wait 15 minutes and then he takes them back into Rushden. He identified and all the information was given to the PCSO, and she is going to carry that on. But the knock-on effect from all of this is that we have many different groups Riverside Park, not for its full intentions. So I have witnessed dead ducks down there. I have witnessed mallard ducks down there that have been harmed and dead. I have witnessed a huge amount of drug paraphernalia that's down there, and that was this Sunday morning. And I've also witnessed people trying to set fires and deface, and it's really looking in a real sorry state. So I don't know how we're going to address this, whether it be multi-agency, whether it be environmental, wildlife, but I would really like this on the agenda, please, and looked at. Thank you.
Councillor Jackson.
Well, this is why some years ago I tried, when we were getting at JAG the priorities, I wanted the police to include the Riverside Park, and of course all we got was, sorry, we can only do Saffron Road, we haven't got the facilities, because as far as I was concerned, the Riverside Park was being ignored, and that was where most of the drug dealing was taking place. So really, we should have a word with the police again and see if they can actually include the Riverside Park on their visits.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, according to our standing orders, we're not allowed to discuss it. We can't make a decision on this.
No.
But Sandra, if you want to add.
I just want to, can you add Councillor Rourke's apologies? I've had a little email conversation. He had got the wrong link, but I sent him the right one, but he's having trouble with his camera on his computer tonight and he doesn't feel he can participate fully without the camera.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm assuming that we would have to, there will be, I mean, Angela's obviously been talking to the PCSO. I'm assuming that we may well have to talk, as it probably raise this at a council meeting. I don't know whether we need to be more proactive on the point she's raised.
I mean, in terms of, I mean, we could get the wildlife people involved from the harm to wildlife. I mean, certainly the police have a wildlife officer, so it's a police issue. I don't really know, and I think we'll have to have a think about it, how we take this forward.
Yeah, I appreciate it. As I say, under our rules, we're not supposed to make a decision on it or discuss it, but I think Angela's made the point. I think it will be minuted anyway. So it'll be available to the other councillors, and I'm sure by the council meeting they'll be aware of it. Somebody may even raise it at the council meeting. Right, okay. Anything else that everybody would like to report? We're all stunned into silence again. So item number 13 on the agenda is the date of the next meeting, which is the 18th of May 2021, when presumably we will have a new council.
We may not be here.
We may not, some of us may not even be here. We know some won't be, but we're not out of this group on hopes, but
nobody can be that assured.
Yeah, well, quite, yes. So we won't tempt fate too much.
I've already had a gentleman complaining about his latest rate, so it could be quite interesting at this election.
Well, I didn't realise you'd got my phone call. Right. I think that's the end of this meeting, so I declare the meeting